Hey, welcome into this special Sunday edition of Breaking the Huddle. I'm Joel Klatt, and this show is sponsored by Dr. Pepper. Remember, at every home gate and tailgate, it is the one that fans crave. Okay, live reaction right now after the final CFP rankings release here on this Sunday, and it's going to come down, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the actual criteria was. Okay, there's a lot of opinions being thrown out right now about what they valued and what they didn't value, but I have it. Okay, I have the actual concrete valuation. I'm going to tell you exactly why the committee put each team where they put each team. Let me first start by saying I really was disappointed in the discussion surrounding Georgia and why they should go to the college football playoff in the last couple of days. And it was trumpeted by some people that I really respect in this business, but I just didn't agree with it. And maybe it's just a difference of opinion, and that's absolutely fine in what college football is about. But the fact that a two-loss team that didn't win their conference championship and really candidly didn't have a great win on the season, because I don't think Florida or Kentucky would be considered great wins. So here's the team that had their shot, had the champs against the rope, down 14 twice, knocked the maybe eventual Heisman winner or runner-up in the Heisman out of the game, and they've got to close that out. And that was their charge, and they did not do it. We play these games in order to have a winner and loser. Georgia lost that game. They had two losses, didn't have a great win on their resume. They have a 20-point loss, and they weren't the champ. So in my estimation, that's a team that did not either deserve or was one of the four best, because eye test is totally subjective. This is not a beauty pageant. And then as for today, I will say that I don't think that what happened today and this discussion is great for the sport. Okay, college football is great because we are a meritocracy, and football is great because it's a meritocracy. You play to win the game, to steal Herm Edwards' line, and there's a winner and a loser for a reason, and we don't just play these games, have a score at the end, and then just throw all of that out the window and say, hey, who had the best players, who has the most potential? Because that's what a beauty pageant is, that's what figure skating is some sort of subjective judging based on strength of schedule or the most difficult routine or so on and so forth. That does not make college football good or great. This discussion, the eye test does not make anything great. It makes it subjective. It makes it figure skating or a beauty pageant. Let's stick to the things that were actually concrete, like the results on the field. So those are just some thoughts real quick, just about the whole process in the last couple of days. Now let's get down to what the committee was actually viewing. It doesn't matter what they told you on ESPN or any other outlet when you were interviewing Rob Mullen, the athletic director at Oregon, who's the chair of the committee. I'm going to tell you what they were valuing. And to me, it was actually very clear. It was very clear. Regardless of what they said, this is how it came down. The top two teams in the country, Clemson and Alabama, and I would argue this as well, were just clearly superior to everyone, record-wise, dominance-wise, everything you want to say, balance, defensively and offensively. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball. They were so dominant over the course of their season, albeit against not great schedules, but they were beating those schedules by historic marks. Alabama, until yesterday's SEC championship game, beat everybody on their schedule by 20 or more points. That's ridiculously good. In fact, it hasn't happened since the 1880s when Yale did it. So all of those things, led to the fact that Bama and Clemson were kind of a clear number 1 and 2. Now let's get down to how they rank these teams 3 to 6, because to me it was very clear, and this is how it went. They looked at one thing, and it was a very specific thing. They looked at each team's floor. Absolutely, that's what happened. Look at their floor. Basically, what were these teams at their worst? Notre Dame gets the third spot. Why? Because at their worst, they still won the game. It didn't matter if they only beat Ball State by 8 or Vandy by 5 or Pitt by 5 or USC by 7. They were still winning the game. So their floor was an undefeated season. Even when they were playing some of their worst games, they were still able to get the win. So they get the number 3 spot, even without the 13th data point and a conference championship. By the way, side note, I think Notre Dame should join a conference. Now we get to the number 4 spot. This is why Oklahoma got the 4 spot. It was their floor. Their floor was better than Georgia and it was better than Ohio State. We're not looking at top end. We're not looking at your best win, what you played at your best. We're not looking at potential. No. They were looking at the floor. What are these teams at their worst? Oklahoma, at their worst, was a 3-point loss on a neutral site to a ranked team in Texas. By the way, they got to avenge that loss yesterday in a thrilling Big 12 championship game. Kyler Murray was spectacular. Now you go down, what was Georgia at their floor? A 20-point loss on the road to LSU in which they did not look good at all the entire game. 4 turnovers in that game. Fromm looked discombobulated. They couldn't run it, albeit with an injured, maybe not 100% healthy DeAndre Swift, their running back, but a 20-point loss. That was their floor. What's the floor for Ohio State? It's a 29-point loss to Purdue, a 6-6 team. That's the most stark criteria that they've given us maybe in a few years. It was so clear to me, 3 through 6, exactly why and how those teams winded up in those spots. See, if it was the other way around and they just looked at only your top end, what are you at your best? I think Ohio State would have been the 3 seed. Why? Because of those 4 teams, their 60 minutes against Michigan, who was the number 4 team in the country at the time, that was the best 60 minutes that any of these teams has put together at all. So their top end was spectacular. They didn't look at that. They also have a better win than anybody else on that list with Penn State and Michigan. They throttled Michigan. Yeah, like opponents. Aren't we supposed to look at that? Apparently not. Notre Dame did not handle Michigan to the same extent that Ohio State handled Michigan. And by the way, that Michigan team is coming off of 10 straight wins when Ohio State throttled them and put 62 points on them. UGA, you know why they weren't valued at their top end? Because their top end's not that great. They faced 2 really good teams. They lost both of those games, LSU and Alabama. Their best win now is Florida. I mean, that's a Florida team that you can look at that is incredibly flawed. Their other good win is Kentucky. Give me a break. Kentucky, I don't even think should be ranked. OU, what were their best wins? Probably an avenged victory over Texas in the Big 12 championship game and probably West Virginia on the road. Notre Dame, their best win, week 1 of the season against Michigan in a really solid game. I don't want to take that away from them. But again, I just want to point it out, they did not view these teams based on best or potential. They viewed them on what are they at their worst. That's how they ranked them, and that's how we got to the 4 teams that are in the college football playoff. Clemson and Alabama at the top, deservedly so, and Notre Dame and the University of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner, getting in there at number 4. I'm looking forward to these matchups in the playoffs. More to come on how I think they're going to play out. But for this year and this committee, I do feel like they got it right. If they would have put Georgia in, I think that the whole thing, college football, would have come crumbling down. We would have gone towards an 8-team playoff. You might be thinking to yourself, wait, really? Yes, I think we would have gotten to an expanded playoff pretty quickly if they would have included Georgia, but they did not. They looked at the floor of each team, and Notre Dame and Oklahoma's floor was better than the floor for Georgia and for Ohio State. That's going to do it for me on this special Sunday edition. By the way, for those of you that have ever listened to me on Jay and Dan's podcast and the story I've told about Tim Brando and the Say Hello to Terry, it's my own moment right now. Say hello to Sarah, everybody. My wife Sarah joining me in New York for a couple of days here after the college football season. Oh, I embarrassed her. No. We're going to go to Bryant Park. Enjoy your day. This show has been brought to you by Dr. Pepper. At every home gate and tailgate, it is the one that fans crave. Have a great Sunday.